Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Shared Security Show. Joining me for part 2 of my series on how to break into a cybersecurity career is my good friend, Rafal Los. Raf is a cybersecurity industry veteran who has worked for large companies like GE and HP. He has a wealth of cybersecurity consulting and strategy experience from working at Optiv, Armor Cloud, and now in his current role at Lightstream, where he's the Vice President of Security Strategy. Raf is also the host of the popular Down the Security Rabbit Hole podcast, which has published over 400 episodes since 2011. In the following interview, Raf shares his career journey with me and offers some great advice for those of you looking to get into a cybersecurity career. So without further ado, enjoy my interview with Rafal Los.
We're a weird industry, man.
Aren't we though? Yeah.
It's I think the advantage you and I had, we'll say our generation, the first real InfoSec generation, the originals. Ooh, I feel like it's a show on CW or something, about vampires. Yeah, we're not that, but I feel like the advantage we had was there was no industry to break into it when we were there.
That's right.
We made
it was all new.
We were bored of everything else, and we made our own. So
that's right.
Yeah, I mean, my way through. Well, I was putting together white box PCs, man. It was a lot of fun. It was good. It was paying some bills while going to college, to go be a ECS major, which I realized very rapidly was not going to be a long-term thing for me.
Yeah.
Mainly because while I was okay at math, circuit and processor design, electrical engineering, that's not where my brain's best at. Like, I'm not best huddled over a circuit board. It's just, it's not what I do. Oddly enough, I got booted out of that program right around the time I decided I didn't really need to go to college. And so I got interested in computers, and like all of us, we dabbled, we tinkered, we didn't quite have the right forum for it. I ended up at a startup, one of the first couple of people to be hired, one of the first 5 in the IT department. And so I got to be the router jockey. I got to build servers. I got to watch them break. I got to write some Cold Fusion code, which it is confirmed I'm still the world's worst developer.
Cold Fusion, that brings back memories. Oof.
Yeah, it does. CF tags. Anyway, remember that really fun admin portal? They had a static password, I think it was, for a while. That was good. Good times.
Yeah.
Oh, CF admin. Woo, yeah.
Easy baby. Break-ins.
But I think for me, it was just a lot of hitting sort of uncharted territory. And I've got a terrible ADD when it comes to jobs. So I have to, I can't sit and do the same thing for a while.
I'm the same way.
After building PCs for a while, after building networks, after, I started getting into the, we had a company that at the time I worked for a company that we hired a firewall management company to manage our firewalls and our IPSs, and stuff like that. And I guess IDSs at the time, wouldn't it? Yeah. And our Radware appliances. Oh, wow. Yeah. And these guys were just so cool. They were just like, they're doing so many awesome things. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I want to be doing this one day. This is really cool. But I had servers to build and routers to configure and switches to break. So I kind of stayed on that. And then sort of as the department grew bigger, I left the building and the regular stuff up to somebody else. And I kind of got into how do we secure this and keep it from getting hacked? And it turns out that was a lot harder than I thought it was. And there was not really any, there's no good guides for securing IIS at the time, aside from removing random permissions in the operating system, which did fantastic things for the developers, because none of that crap worked after you did that.
Nope.
And it's just kind of interesting that that time went by, and I sort of went one day like, I'd love to come work for you guys. And the opportunity presented itself, and I took a 50% pay cut to go do that, and just sort of never look back. It's just been, I think a lot of us had the same mindset, right? Like, hey, this is interesting. How does it work?
Yeah. Yeah, we just kind of fell into it. But like you know, I spent time in IT. I was the guy always fixing the servers, patching everything. And then for me, it was, you know, they hired an auditor to start an information security department during the Sarbanes-Oxley 404 days and said, "Hey, you know something about security? Do you want to start a security department?" And I was like, I know nothing of that, and no one does, and no one in the industry either did. So great opportunity to learn, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's the awesome thing. That's kind of the interesting thing, really, is that we, again, I think that's just one of those, you know, every couple of generations we get to do something different. We not like the folks that got into cloud before there was such a thing, right? We were blessed
Yeah.
enough to jump into an industry and kind of make it our own. Now I think we made
This
metric
monster. What did we create?
tons of mistakes along the way, right? And
Oh
we
yeah.
created our own language, which arguably was a dumb idea because that got us further away from. But you know, we were young. We were trying to be different, trying to kind of assert our power and show people, well, you're just so dumb. How could you not get this? Watch me break everything you put together. And you know, that kind of attitude has horrendously backfired over the last 10 years. Like, we're witnessing a lot of that, where we went from, oh my god, they can kill us with, you know, with a computer from a million miles away, to these people are idiots, ignore them. And we're sort of swinging back into the middle somewhere. I hope it's a good middle, but I think a lot of us have just sort of like settled into, you know, like good corporate jobs. And and frankly, I've gotten lucky enough to where every time I find a part of the industry, I'm like, this part sucks. Somebody goes, oh yeah, well, make it better. And so kind of what I'm doing now too.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for someone, you know, in college thinking about getting into this industry? You know, where could they start? Like, what's your best advice you'd offer them?
I think there's I kind of want to say that it was Paul Giamatti that's in it's in those, what kind of person should become a celebrity accountant? Nobody should become an infosec like person.
Yeah,
No.
stay away.
I think there's a couple of career paths that you sort of have to just figure out, and not right away, but figure out what you want to do with life. If you're okay with people, this industry needs a tremendous amount of talent that knows how to interact with society on ways of influencing policy and leadership. So from from a rational conversation perspective, there's also a tremendous need for highly technical talent. Those two are not mutually exclusive, by the way,
No.
but if anybody knows any of those people that overlap, call me. I'd like to find a few,
Unicorns,
as I'm sure
right?
you would either.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think we're all like, where?
Yep. That's right.
But yeah, I think the advice really is, school is good. All those great programs that in colleges that'll churn out infosec majors are like, keep in mind you're learning on stuff that is probably, you know, by the time it's distilled and put into books and put in teaching materials, you know, it's not a SANS course where somebody developed it 6 weeks ago and suddenly you're learning it, right? It's stuff that's got some length to it, but um, it's an industry that we need a lot of people in. We need people that can think outside the box. I hate that cliche, but there it is. And I think there's a tremendous need for talent that recognizes that you need like security. To me, you know, when I said in the beginning, like how I got here, I was a terrible developer. I did help desk, I did network engineering, I did server engineering, and I kind of dabbled in, you know, building firewall rules on a packet filtering box at some point. And I think that's, you know, people that tell me they come out of college and they're going to go get looking for an infosec job. I'm like, cool, but realize you're like, you have very limited use right now. You see things at this level.
Yeah.
The bottom, you have to understand how things connect.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand, you know, how software is developed so you can understand how it breaks. Particularly with, like, you know, abstract systems like cloud computing and all those APIs and all those things, you have to understand how it works before you can understand why it broke, how it broke, or if it's broken into. I think unfortunately that's the lacking part in our industry right now. Because being an analyst and watching a dashboard scroll by of alerts. That isn't difficult, frankly.
No.
I don't mean to
Train
sound
anybody to do that.
derogatory, but it's
You're right.
not.
Yeah.
The tech will tell you, red light, red light, red light, red light. It's with the kind of people that we need are the ones that would go, those 3 red lights together mean something. Those 7, like, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be interesting to see how much of those people we can churn out. Cause I think that comes with experience and time. You can't manufacture people that understand the abstract that creates good security professionals. You just can't.
That's a really good point. And, you mentioned critical thinking skills and communication.
Yeah, absolutely. And then things like things that I don't see talked a lot about, like packet analysis, systems design, like the basics of how computers work. Because nowadays, how many of us out there actually understand the basics of how computers work? You pick up an iPad, it's like, there it is, it's an app. You're like, yeah, but you actually understand what's going on underneath it? Like, you can't break down into CLI and start, typing out system commands, but you should know at least functionally what's going on down there. Like, how this video we're talking on, what the protocols underneath it are, the fact what SSL, TLS, right? All that stuff means and how it functions. I don't purport to tell you that you're going to have to learn crypto, because nobody should ever learn crypto except for the 5 people that know it. And we should make sure that they figure out your mortality so we can keep them alive.
Brain trust. Yeah. And now a quick word from our sponsors. Given the state of the world that we are currently living in, your digital privacy, cybersecurity, and health is more important than ever. That's why I recommend the use of a Faraday sleeve for your laptop, smartphone, and key fob. And if you want the best Faraday products on the market, you need Silent Pocket. And because you listen to this podcast, you can take 10% off your order right now during checkout at silentpocket.com by using discount code SharedSecurity.
Is your team starting to show signs of fatigue from traditional security awareness compliance training, or from phishing assessments that target them for those teachable moments? As we've seen in recent news, these kinds of training are having a negative impact on corporate culture, and they're really not all that effective. So there has to be a better way. ClickArmor is the first gamified learning platform that helps build a self-defending team through engaging learning challenges and exercises. Its unique lesson templates, built with proven gamification techniques, let people learn and exercise important defensive concepts in a safe and fun environment. Whether you need to quickly deploy a training solution that gets people to stop clicking on things immediately, or you've got your own boring content that needs to be put into a more interesting user experience, ClickArmor can help. So go to clickarmor.ca/shared security to learn how to build a self-defending team.
Yeah, that's interesting. I do see a lot of, I think newer generation, younger generations than us are coming in, with the mindset of, well, I'm just interested in it, so you should just give me the job. And I always say, all right, take a step back and learn the fundamentals of the basics. You really have to start there, and you can't just jump into a cyber career unless, like you said, you're an analyst looking at logs all day or a screen, but even then you should still be doing some type of learning on your own, studying on your own, taking classes. There's an approach to this whole thing.
Yeah. And then if you want to look, I'm not trying to, I would never discourage somebody from taking a low level, like an entry level analyst or dashboard watcher or whatever position. Take that absolutely, because that gets the foot in the door. Then do your best to, as quickly as possible, understand what in the heck it is that you're actually doing beyond what the tech tells you. It's those analysis and critical thinking and the ability to pull something apart and reason like what this does. And I think I took one of my favorite classes that I took in college along my long wayward path was it was called I can't remember the teacher's name anymore. But it was called operating systems and languages. We learned 3 or 4 different operating systems and kind of how they functioned, and I think 16 different programming languages in a quarter. Now, semester. Now, when I say learned, I don't mean I could program in them. I could
high level
in all of them, but you could actually see how they're syntactically set up, what makes it tick, what's a programming block, declarations, variable assignments, how to do that. And then that gives you this ability. Then I can look at Java, I can look at Perl, God help us. I can look at, Python or whatever is out there, A-95, if anybody still codes in that, I know syntactical. So you can get back in and actually understand what it's doing, at least at some basic level.
Yeah.
I think we need a lot of that because there's not enough of it.
Yeah. Completely agree.
Otherwise we're stuck basically believing what the technology tells us. And that's never good.
Yeah, I remember those hard lessons of, never, trusting your scan results, right? Like, validate everything. Never trust your automated tools.
For a while, man. I know that result.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Scan and validate.
Yep, totally. So what's your thoughts on certifications for people with no experience?
So I'll give you the caveat. You're talking to somebody that holds exactly 0 of them.
That's why I'm asking.
but over 2 decades of life experience in the industry. So take that for what it's worth. I think certifications are more important the earlier in your career you are, because, 10 years in, nobody's going to look at you and go, do you have your CISP? Because they're going to have, 10 years of experience of knowing that you know what you're talking about or not. And by then it'll be diminishing value. I think that if you're early in your career, there's a lot of practical certs. The SANS has a fantastic, the GISC is an example. There's a ton of great ones. There's a bunch of like these, I'd say be wary of some of these, like learn the pen test overnight tricks, because a lot of those are really good scams that teach you how to do one specific thing and don't have any real world applications. Crash courses are exactly what they sound like. They help you pass a test. They don't get you to real life experience. But, certs, I think, are important the earlier in your career you are. And when you're trying to go do specific things, like if you're want to go be a forensic examiner someplace, right? You may have to get a certification or 5 that allows you to be in that industry, doing so that people understand that you know what the heck you're talking about and doing. But I think broadly speaking, I think certs are, we're not plumbers or licensed electricians where without it you're not allowed to touch a wire. That is both good and bad, by the way.
Right.
But I think that's probably where my thinking's at. And once you've got the career experience, once you've got the life experience, I'd say probably spend your money on e-learning and coursing through things rather than trying to get more certs. Because I've seen jobs that require a certified information security CISM, I think, manager now. And you're like, great, I can go take a test. Does that then preclude me from having to have those 7 years experience?
Yeah. What does that mean?
Yes, I'm not applying.
Right. That's true. Well, this is good stuff. I definitely wanted to get you to plug some of the stuff that you're working on. Obviously, the Down the Rabbit Hole podcast.
Yeah, man, still going strong, baby. Down the Security Rabbit Hole.
Yeah, was it like 428? Episodes. And you've been podcasting, what was it, 2011? Something like
December
that?
Of 2011, yeah. We've been on each other's shows a couple times. I got the idea from when you guys it was you, Chris Clymer, who the hell else was
Security
it?
Justice, Matt Neely.
Security Justice, that's right.
Dave Lauer, yeah.
Yeah, Dave, that's right. How did I forget Dave?
Oh, yeah.
And I still have, I think I just recently on my Facebook gave me a 10-year anniversary of that picture of us sitting after the NEO Northeast
InfoSec,
InfoSec, whatever, NEO-ISF.
At the bar.
But yeah, we were sitting there at that table all podcasting, which is a younger version of us that I don't even recognize anymore.
Yeah.
But I still do that. I for the same reason I started is I kind of bringing it to the masses. I get the privilege of getting to know some really interesting people. And selfishly, these are people I want to talk to anyway. So this gives me the benefit of recording it for and having a conversation and broadcasting it out to everybody else, which is awesome. I've got a new project with the IT security magazine, ITSM, I think. Sorry, Sean, I forgot. Sean and Marco, are doing some cool stuff, and there's a whole podcasting world and ITSP
I saw that.
Yeah, so we've got a podcast called my friend Chris and I have a podcast called Indistinguishable from Magic. I for a long time I've just I've had phone calls with friends that we just sort of riff on the state of the industry. And I'm like, it'd be cool if we could just do the Statler and Waldorf thing and have no consequences, and not have to worry about anybody getting mad at me and or whatever. And this is kind of it. Like we did an episode. We keep it light. We did an episode on professionalism where we basically said, look, if you're going to show up in a t-shirt and flip flops to work, I just as much not hire you because, grow up, be an adult for a minute. So I get to say stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm sure, a hugely popular opinion in everybody's circles. But so that's the two major projects. I still write quite a bit, and day job, I'm building a managed security service provider that doesn't suck over at Lightstream right now. So
cool.
Still
awesome.
Getting back into speaking after taking some significant time off, because this industry sucks. For after you're in it too long, it just makes you want to go do something terribly different.
I took a long pause myself in public speaking, mainly because I really didn't have anything to talk about. But now I think with my new role at Bishop Fox, and there's gonna be some opportunities, I think, to get back into it a bit. So
what's funny though, I think a bunch of us said the same thing a couple of times. Like after being on the circuit for close to a decade, 7-8 years, I think, you get to the point where how many years in a row can I give the same talk and people tell me it's brand new magical things they've never heard of before you just go, I just go watch last year's talk. Nothing has changed. I promise. I asked Dan Gear because, I had him on the show early. And I caught him a couple of years ago. And I was like, hey, I'd love to have you on the show and talk about kind of what's new in the last 6-7 years. He goes, my beard's gotten grayer. And I'm like, that's probably fair. We haven't done, we've got awards and all kinds of fun, things for ourselves. And it's like, somebody quick, name a problem that we've solved, actually solved. I'll wait. I'll just be right here waiting for you to tell me. Yay.
Nothing.
I guess job security.
That's right. That's about it. That's all right. Well, cool, Raf. Well, thank you again for coming on the show. We'll have links in our show notes for your podcasts and where they can find you. And,
cool.
I've listened to your podcast for years, and I highly recommend it. So
appreciate
as
that.
A fellow podcaster.
We try.
Yes, you do a great job. You and James.
We've got this year's, my goal this year is to grow it a little bit. I've got a new platform I'm testing out, so I'm having to do things single threaded for a bit, but James and I'll be back riding again shortly. Kicking off the year with some fun stuff. I just literally today interviewed. We had Dave Elfring, my first ever guest, 428 episodes ago.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, Dave, you and I, you're gonna go. And literally we went through okay, so 9 years ago we did this. We talked about all this stuff. It all stands. Really, nothing's changed. Crap.
Yeah.
The great wheel in the sky keeps on turning, as the song goes.
That's right. Well, cool, man. Well, thanks for taking some time. Great to catch up. That's all for this week's show. Be sure to follow the Shared Security Show on Twitter and Instagram for the latest news and show updates. If you like this episode, please hit that like and subscribe button, and please subscribe to us on your favorite podcast listening app. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week for another episode of the Shared Security Show.